In today's video, we're going to be asking the question, what makes Jetboil stoves so special? We'll talk about the heat exchanger technology and how well it works with other branded stoves. And we'll also take a look at some cheaper alternatives if you don't want to be paying the premium Jetboil prices. Whenever you're having a natter with someone about camping stoves, usually at some point in the conversation, someone brings up Jetboil. But what is it that makes the Jetboil so special? Or are they really that special? Maybe they're overrated, overpriced, or do you get what you pay for? So let's have a little natter, fire up a stove and see if we can find out some of the answers together. Over the years I've owned quite a few Jetboils as well as a number of Jetboil style stoves. I think a Jetboil is a little bit like a Hoover. So although it's technically a vacuum cleaner, people call it a Hoover because that was the brand that everybody had back in the day. Any sort of stove now that has this sort of heat exchange at the bottom, people call it a Jetboil stove, and it's not always a Jetboil brand, but Jetboil is synonymous, is that the word, with this kind of design. Compact stoves that usually integrate a pot and a burner, everything fits inside, and it's very efficient, and it boils your water really quickly. So I've still got my Jetboil Minimo. This is the second Jetboil stash that I've owned. I've had the Jetboil Zip. I've never owned the Jetboil Flash, and I believe that is their number one selling stove. So I don't know why I've never managed to get hold of one. So the majority of Jetboil stoves are a compact cook set, which includes a pot with a heatsink or flux ring along the bottom, which greatly increases the efficiency of the stove, reduces boil times. Usually your stand, stove and gas canister all fit inside. So believe it or not, heat exchangers have been around since the 1800s. And I think Jetboil was probably the first company to put them on a camping stove anyway. And that was 20 years ago now since they did the first compact cook system similar to this. And since then there's lots of other companies have done similar sort of designs using similar technology, and some of them are a lot cheaper than the Jetboil. So Jetboil have got premium prices. I think this stove retails around 120 quid. Yeah, 120, 115, £100 on eBay. But does that hefty price tag and a Jetboil logo mean that they're a better stove? So let's get the stash set up. As you can see, it is really compact. This one's quite lightweight. This is their first sort of ultralight stove, shall we call it. The cup weighs around 200 grams. I think it's about 60 grams for the burner. Everything fits inside, so you've got gas canister fits onto the lid, little tiny burner in a bag, these arms just rotate out, there we go, screw the gas on to the can, there we go, and that's basically the burner setup. You can, if you want to, put this little canister stand on there. That just gives you a little bit more stability, so there's less chance of your stove falling over. And then your pot just fits on the top. So this particular burner has got like little cutouts here that the rim of the cup sits on there. Whereas a lot of the other models like the Flash and the Minimo, the pot fits onto a round burner and clicks into place, and then it all holds together, so you could actually pick it all up in one go. Right, let's make a little cuppa. So this stove doesn't have a built-in igniter. You can see the burner there. It's not mega powerful actually. The burners they're not set up to be the most powerful burners, they're more set up to be the most efficient. This particular one doesn't have any sort of pressure regulator in it, so if your gas canister gets low or it's colder weather, you can lose pressure a little bit, so it makes it less efficient when it comes to the performance anyway. I'm not going to time the boil or anything like that because, to be honest, I'm not bothered. It's more about efficiency for me anyway. I'm just admiring the view. I'm not in a rush or anything at the moment. That's getting a little bit of action already, so it's not slow by any means. So all of that heat is being concentrated by that heatsink at the bottom. So there's no heat being lost from the sides here. Everything is going to the bottom of the pot. The pot is also a little bit wider, which means that the heat is spread across more of a surface area, if that makes sense. A narrower pot tends to take a little bit longer to boil, usually anyway. Obviously you will get a quicker boil time if you put the lid on. They all tend to have some sort of mouthpiece and strainer as well, and if you're cooking pasta and things like that. So these stoves are primarily designed for boiling water, and they are really, really good at that. If your priority is to get a cuppa or a dehydrated meal, then a Jetboil is great for that, but they're not the best tool that I've found when it comes to simmering, for cooking with. The flames are just too narrow and a little bit too concentrated. So I've tried quite a few other Jetboil style stoves from different brands, such as the MSR Wind Burner, the Alpkit Brew Kit. Also tried one from Fire Maple, and to be honest with you, it's the pot that makes all the difference, not the burner. So this burner here is not actually all that good. It's, like I said, there's no micro regulator in there, so it will lose power in colder weather or when the gas canister runs low. It's also pretty poor in the wind, so I'm alright in the tent at the moment, but there's no wind protection with this particular stove. Some of the Jetboil models have got some sort of enclosure around them to help protect from the wind. Stoves like the MSR Wind Burner have got a fully enclosed thing, so they perform a lot better in the wind. But again, they're just boiling machines really. These pots, however, so this Jetboil pot is brilliant. I've used it with different stoves as well, and so like my Soto Windmaster, which I brought with me, I'm going to try it with that in this video. It performs better with that stove because the Soto stove's more powerful. It's definitely a lot more wind resistant, and it's got a micro regulator in as well, so in the colder weather or when you've got a low gas canister, it's going to perform a lot better. It really is a shame that you can't just buy these pots on their own. Well, you can, but not from Jetboil, unless perhaps they've got a spare section where you might be able to pick one up, but I've not seen them retail anyway where you can just pick one of these up. Right, before we try this with a different burner, I just want to quickly thank Squarespace, who sponsored the video today. If you don't know who Squarespace are, they're the #1 place to go if you want to have a go at building a website all by yourself. So we built a couple of websites now using Squarespace. Jo uses it for selling her paintings, so there's a built-in e-commerce facility, so it takes all your payments for you, does all of that. You can add products, add prices. It's all really easy to do. You don't need any coding experience. You just choose one of their ready-made templates. You upload your own photos, upload your own text, add some prices and some shop items, things like that. And within a couple of hours, you've got a website. So I use my website for promoting the YouTube channel, for listing raffles, and sending out emails using their marketing campaigns. It's really easy to keep track of where all your traffic's coming from. They have got an analytics section. We found it easiest to set up using the desktop site, but making little changes on the go, you can use the mobile app as well. So if we can do it, you can do it. And if you fancy having a go at building your own website, then click the link in the description below or head over to squarespace.com/Paul Messner. You'll get a totally free trial, and then when you're ready to go live, you'll get 10% off your first purchase. You might be able to hear it's just started raining again, so we're going to close everything up, open this space here and do a little bit of cooking inside. We're going to have some chow mein noodles. We're going to have that with some roast beef. Oops. So this is the Soto Windmaster. Although I don't need it inside here, this gives me wind protection. It's got a regulator. It's also got a built-in igniter, so it's all round a better burner than the Jetboil Stashers version anyway. But it's a little bit heavier. It doesn't quite fit into the pot the same, so it's not all integrated. But I just want to show that you can build systems up, so you don't have to pay the prices of Jetboil. So I'll recommend some other pots as well in a little while, but that is the biggest flaw with Jetboil. their prices are top end. So the MSR is the same sort of price. I think it's about £180 for the MSR wind burner. The Minimo, which is the sort of comparable stove, is around the same sort of price, £180. And there are cheaper options like the Alpkit brew kits, usually around £50. Then you've got, I've seen some around £30, these Planet X ones and stuff like that. Now, they're not all as good quality, they're not all as efficient. So some may use twice as much gas, but it depends how often you're going to be using it. If you're going to be just having a brew once every 3 months and you're using a few pennies worth of gas more, then maybe it's more efficient for you to buy the cheaper model. Might be a little bit heavier, might be a little bit bulkier, but yeah, Jetboil has got you are paying a lot for this little logo on here. You are getting good quality, you are getting really efficient stoves, but you're also paying a lot for that logo on there. So the first thing you might notice is that this stove doesn't lock into the pot the same as the Jetboil one does, but the arms on this are quite large. It's not going anywhere. It's no different to having just a normal titanium pot on there maybe, or an aluminium pot. Difference is you've got the heat exchanger on the bottom, so you're not going to be getting flames coming up the sides and stuff like you would do on just a plain pot. All of the heat is going to be concentrated to the bottom of here. Get them noodles on. So this, it boils a lot quicker than the Jetboil's burner does. I've turned that up to full, so there's no heat really escaping from the side. The heat sink is just holding everything in there, and already, don't know if I can see it from here, let me get this camera off. Within a few seconds the water's starting to do something anyway. That's boiling rapidly. Turn it down to a simmer. Get this door open a little bit. Let some of that heat escape. Look at that, the flame is much more controllable. You can get it really high or just have it low like that. So having a pot with a heat exchanger saves you quite a lot in gas. So if you're doing multi-day trips, it's the way to go. You don't have to have a Jetboil though. You don't have to have an all-in-one integrated system. So you can buy pots. I've seen a company called Fire Maple that do a couple of these heat exchanger pots. There are other ones that I've seen on Amazon as well. But the Fire Maple one, I've seen where they have got one with 4 cutouts, which perfectly fits this Soto Windmaster stove. So it locks it in place as well if you want to have that. And to build up a system like that is far cheaper than buying a Jetboil system. I've not used it, so I can't comment on how good it is, but the reports that I've seen and the videos that I've seen, it looks really promising. All right, let's strain off some of that excess water. This is where Jetboil pots are pretty good. I'm not going to drink that, although some people drink like noodle water and stuff. It's not for me. But I've done all this without leaving the tent. Quite big bits of beef there. Thanks, Mother. We went for Sunday dinner. Let's mix that in a bit. Probably a bit too much there, to be honest with you. What else have we got? We've got some herbs. Some chow mein sauce. go. Just about all fits in the pot. Just get it mixed up a bit. I think these bits of beef are a bit too big, to be honest. A little bit of that water back in. Get it on the stove. There we go, look. Beef chow mein. And Jetboil. Using a Soto Windmaster burner. So although Jetboils are powerhouses when it comes to boiling water, so they're great for dehydrated meals and stuff like that. If you're doing things like what I've just done, cooking noodles and putting a bit of sauce in, it makes your pot a little bit messy. So I'm going to show you how I wash up anyway. Inside the tent. First I'm getting my fork and just scraping off anything that's stuck on there, any bits of noodles, any like sort of charred bits a little bit, because sometimes you do get charred bits. I'm using a plastic fork because I don't want to be taking any sort of coating off. If you start putting metal, titanium spoons in and stuff like that, you've got a good chance of scratching the anodizing off. And once you start going down that road, your pot's going to be on its way out. So the best method I've found is with some hot water. Just put a little bit of water, probably about a centimetre's worth in there. Light the stove up. Just going to bring that up to the boil. Should only take a few seconds really, because there's barely any water in there. Turn it up full. Here we go, look, that's boiling. Wow. Told you that stove was good, didn't I? Right, I'm going to put some brighter light on so I can see what I'm doing. And so already, that's cleaned the bottom of the pan, which is crazy. I've got one of these, so this is just a little scouring pad, a non-scratch version. I'm going to bob that in there, and then I'm just going to move it around with my fork or my spoon, whatever I've got, just removing all the little bits of food. Do the same up the side. Be careful not to get any of the water down your leg or anything like that. So you can see the section that I've cleaned and then the section that I haven't cleaned. So just go round with that so you've got it all nice and sparkly again. And then if it wasn't raining, I'd go outside and I'd tip that away somewhere. The minute it's just going in my mug. And then get either a tissue, bit of kitchen roll or something, or I've got a cloth that I use. There we go. Spotlessly clean, ready for my brew later. So although I love my Jetboils, the only real special thing about them is the pots, to be honest with you. And I've already shown you that other burners are actually better than the Jetboil burners. I do like the way that they integrate. So if you buy something like the Flash system or the Minimo system, everything fits inside the pot. It locks into place. If you want something like that, then it's a good option. But they're very expensive, and it's the pot that's doing all of the good work for you. And there are cheaper alternatives out there. So you could look at something like the Alp Kit Brew Kit, which is a very similar sort of design with a heat exchanger. Another stove worth considering is the OEX Hero. I did do a comparison video against the Jetboil Zip, and I was extremely surprised how well the Hero performed against a stove twice the price. Or you could build your own setup. So something like this Soto Windmaster stove is brilliant. It's got all of the features that you want from a stove: wind protection, pressure regulator, simmer function. There's built-in igniter, really good quality, and I think they're around £45 for the stove. You could get something like a Pocket Rocket from MSR, similar sort of thing, but not as efficient, and they're not as good, but they do a job for you anyway. You could get something like the Fire Maple FMC, which is it's a pot basically with a heat exchanger. They do a kettle version of it as well. Let me have a look, see how much they are. The pot by itself is £22.70. That's from Fire Maple, and it comes with a plastic lid, so you could fit your stove inside. Let's see if we can get a picture of the heat exchanger. So there's a heat exchanger. I will pop it a better image on the screen as well. It's enclosed as well, so there's some kind of wind protection there. And I found another Fire Maple one, the Petrol, which is $23.95. That's in dollars, by the way, so you might be able to get it a bit cheaper than that, but that's the one with the cutout, and it's actually the 3 cutout, so you will need to buy the 3-pronged support for the Soto Windmaster. I think that's about £8. Or they do supply a stove themselves as well, which fits it, so yeah, it's well worth looking at. You're getting the same sort of Jetboil heat exchanger technology, but for a lot less money. So let me know in the comments what you think of Jetboil. Are they expensive? Are they overpriced? Are they worth the money? I know that there's always the consideration about where your products are made, so pretty sure that Jetboil are made in New Hampshire, I think it is, in America, USA, so I know that some people like to support, especially if you live in America, you like to support American brands, so that's always a consideration as well. Alright, all packed away, ready for my next brew. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.